well, why would they want to do that? And she looks at him like, don't you understand? Don't you know that since the beginning of time, someone has always wanted to rule the world?
That's right.
That one.
That's right.
There's always going to be a group of men or a man that wants to get it over on another guy.
Absolutely.
Or women now, right? I mean, look at Pelosi. Come on.
Sure.
You know, I mean.
Well, she's on her way out.
You're going to say something, Joe?
Not only does the state have their plans, but the Department of Homeland Security also has theirs. And I have an article here, Homeland Security issues alert on mandatory quarantine procedures, in which the DHS will enlist the help of the FBI, the Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, what's it, BA?
Tobacco, firearms, and explosives.
And U.S. Marshals.
Right.
To enforce quarantine orders. Now, I've heard from a very reliable source the other day that, well, let's back up a little bit. We are under a pandemic level 6.
6.5.
Well, yeah,
It
but
is.
six, they keep
Arbitrarily
inching
made up
it
a
up.
number now.
Right,
Yeah.
but 6 was
6.5, right?
was the top level, red alert, worldwide.
Right.
Worldwide, and what that means is that, in effect, martial law is in effect worldwide. It just hasn't been enforced yet.
Right.
I have heard of plans where people traveling up and down the interstates will be forced into single lanes and forcibly vaccinated on the side of the road, given a metal bracelet with an RFID chip with your complete medical history and your vaccination history right on site. So this is pretty scary stuff.
Well, I have to say, I'm going to interject something here. I did read something on that, also, but that's something that hasn't occurred yet.
Not yet,
So,
but
I mean,
it
it's a
could.
possibility. Anything's a possibility, again, because of the open language and how they have, it's at their discretion. Any situation they come up against, let's say that you drive home from work and your neighbor doesn't like you or for some reason, and they call up and say that you have the flu and you're hiding it.
Sure.
They'll be at your house and they'll come to your house and they knock on the door and they'll say that you answer the door or you say, you know, you have a right not to open up your front door to the authorities. Do you know that? You don't have to open up your door to the authorities. And you can say, excuse me, what do you want? And you're talking through the glass of the door and they say, open up, we hear that you have the flu. No, I don't have the flu. And, well, we need for you to open up the door right now because we're here to check you out. They're going to do whatever they can to force that door open. There's no longer, you have no rights at this point in time. You have zero rights. They will open that door, whatever it takes. You know, they'll even take a doorbuster, get through the door, and they'll come in and they'll check you out. And now let's say that you're protecting your home and there's a scuffle, they taser you, and then one of them accidentally shoots you. Sorry. There's verb language in here also that exempts all people involved in these activities from any kind of criminal, they can't be brought up on crimes for doing this.
Right.
I mean, remember the Nuremberg trials? Does anybody remember the Nuremberg trials?
Right.
You know, taking a direct order when it violates another person's human rights is not an order that you have to follow. But yet they're going to be doing that. And if we don't think that they are, all we have to do is remember history from the past, and we see what's in the future. That's the beautiful thing about history. We study the history, and we can actually predict the future because we can see it materializing, can't we?
This is exactly this kind of stuff they did in Germany.
That's right.
This is exactly. It's funny because you mentioned Homeland Security. Well, that's the first thing Hitler did. Was he started calling it the homeland.
That's
homeland.
right.
And if we're familiar with what George Bush did shortly after 9/11, is everything became the homeland.
That's right.
And so it's very, very similar. And
you know, and then you know, we get ridiculed for using any kind of a comparison to Nazi Germany. You know, I've had people come to me, well, that's ridiculous. You know, I have a survivor in my family, you know, and I say, hey man, I know many survivors of the Holocaust that some of them are my very good friends, so Don't come and tell me.
I would suggest for
like-
anybody to go watch Naomi Wolf's The End of America.
Naomi Wolf.
Naomi
Yes.
Wolf.
Yeah.
It's, if you have Netflix, you can pull it up direct online, or you can just order it.
That's Naomi Wolf, folks.
And she explains this similarities that are going on, and it was actually a German woman who witnessed what was going on. She kept telling her, "This is what they did in Germany. This is what they did in Germany," and she just didn't get it at first, and then finally it clicked, and she started looking into it and realized that this is exactly what's going on. And so she has a book on it and everything else, but it's a video if you want to keep it simple. It's called The End of America, and I would
Right.
suggest viewing that. It's a very interesting
She actually wrote a
documentary.
couple of books, I think.
She's
didn't she?
fantastic, yeah.
She has a
She
great
has.
speech.
She's very
You know,
good.
and she's and Naomi Wolf's a Democrat. She's a very
I know,
liberal,
yeah.
very liberal woman,
Uh-huh.
actually, you know? But yet, here she is, she's out, and this is what we're talking about, that left and right paradigm.
Yep.
Folks, this is about the Constitution. That's why we're the Constitution Party, because we stand for the Constitution. We want our public servants to honor their oath of office, not to, in this country, we the people are the kings. We're the sovereigns. You know, now you go and you look at some of the laws they've passed, and the government has passed laws that they're the sovereign. Isn't that amazing how they've taken that away from us? But these laws here that they're coming up with, I'm going to read a couple of things that they have here in Massachusetts. They're going to require the owner or occupier of premises to permit entry into an investigation of the premises. These are things you're going to have to do to close, direct, and compel the evacuation of, or to decontaminate or cause to be decontaminated any building or facility, and to allow the reopening of the building or facility when the danger has ended. And when will that be? Who decides that, right? To decontaminate or cause to be decontaminated, or to destroy any material. Okay, they could burn a house down if they wanted to, with all your possessions.
Right.
To restrict or prohibit assemblages of persons. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
To restrict or prohibit assemblages of persons.
Yeah.
In other words, so
Yeah.
you
Taking
can't
away
get
the
together
right
and
to
you can't say,
assemble.
we want you to stop doing this.
That's right. That's
And
right.
you want to know something else too that well, it's still fresh in my head. It's a very important fact that I know none of you guys have probably heard. I was listening to Fox News this morning, and in coordination with Homeland Security, Apple has created an application for their iPhone to where you could track infected H1N1 people on your iPhone, and if you suspect anybody else to be infected, you can take a picture of them and send it into Homeland Security.
Wow.
That was on
You know,
Fox.
you know,
The
this
funny
is on
thing is
Fox
that
News.
Fox News was joking about it this morning, thinking it was funny.
Yeah, it's real
Right.
funny, isn't
Yeah.
it? That really ticks me off when they do that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And they're just sitting there joking, laughing, chuckling about everything. And here we know what's happening. But this brings up something really important that I wanted to bring up, okay? Because, here we're talking about H1N1. It's not even as dangerous as the regular, the other flu. What's it called? The Tamiflu? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
No.
Something like that?
No, not the Tammy.
The Tamiflu? or-
This is seasonal flu?
Yeah.
The regular
Basically,
season.
Okay,
flu.
seasonal
Yeah,
flu,
basically.
and they're flipping out over this, right? How come they didn't do this over AIDS?
Yeah.
What's more deadly?
Well,
Right.
What do you think is more deadly? Now, I remember when...
Back when the AIDS came out, and nobody knew exactly how
Right.
it was transported in the beginning,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So yeah,
They didn't do a thing about
why
it.
wasn't this level
In fact,
of
they
back then?
protected you. In fact, they protected you so that you could actually spread it.
Yeah.
No one could ask you if you had it. They couldn't fire you if you had it,
Yeah.
and you were completely protected. Think about that. And look at how deadly that disease has been.
Yeah.
And we were saying back in the 90s when this all came to light, we were like, how come they're not quarantining the AIDS carriers?
Sure.
Why don't come on, we're talking about a super deadly disease here. To keep it from spreading they didn't do anything. And now we have a little flu here, and they want to look what they're doing. So this is not because this flu is dangerous. They're not doing all this because the flu is dangerous. There is another reason for it. What do you think that is, Jim?
well, I think it's eugenics.
Okay. Way to go.
I know it's eugenics.
Which has, by the way, transformed into genetics.
Uh-huh.
We talked about that the other day, I
Right.
think.
In fact, I think that, talking about the AIDS virus, I think that has the same type of beginnings as